As time passed, Dr. Gero seemed like a distant memory. As Dr. Gero came and tried to take over the world, he was mostly forgotten about. Nappa left him as a head. Little did they know, except for Cell, that Dr. Gero was still alive. Cell thought he took care of Gero, and if he ever made something, he would be strong enough to destroy it now. But that cockiness attitude would be his downfall. As we cut to Dr. Gero, Dr. Gero brought the Buu egg, and then he managed to hatch it by sending energy into it. He managed to regulate ki energy and send it straight into the egg as Majin Buu came out. But then he was horrified to realize something. Dr. Gero couldn't believe it. Fat Buu wasn't as strong as everyone else. It seems like Super Saiyan 3 blows him out of the water. Dr. Gero spent all this time, all these years, gathering this artificial energy for nothing. Fat Buu said, you brought back Buu! What is Boo's orders? Boo's orders. Dr. Gero began to think, but then he smirked. You know what, Buu? I have an idea. Perhaps I can get some of this God Ki. My drones did pick up on it. It'll take a few months, but until then, we could play games and have fun. Buu would say, yay! Dr. Gero would just play with Buu and try to keep Buu on his good side. He wanted to get God Ki and give it to Buu so he can, destroy all of his enemies. And he was done trying to rule the world. Dr. Gero just wanted revenge. And afterwards, he could build an empire with Majin Buu. Or just destroy everything. He really didn't know what he wanted anymore. So many years of just being ahead, waiting to be rebuilt. Just to help some creature that wasn't even grateful. It really wasn't on Dr. Gero's good side. Every time he tried something, it just backfired. But this is his one last try, his one last hurrah. Dr. Gero was a stubborn man and would always try to get revenge. As this was his plan, he kept working on Buu. As months would pass, eventually he'd be able to give him God Ki. It was finally time to get his revenge. It was finally time to show the world what Dr. Gero can do. To show the world that Dr. Gero will be the one coming on top. Once and for all. As all this was going on, we cut to Gohan and Piccolo. You see, Trunks, Vegeta, and Kakarot were off-world training on Beerus' planet, and Nappa sadly passed away. As Piccolo and Gohan were both training, Piccolo would look down at Gohan and say, hey, be serious. Gohan would say, listen, Piccolo, I'm just here to spend time with you. I mean, I get you like to train and all, but it's not like I'll ever be useful. Piccolo says, you have great potential in you, Gohan. You don't understand how useful you can become. Gohan would just sigh and say, I guess if you say so, but I really don't see a use, but alright. Piccolo and Gohan would continue training, as they suddenly feel a massive energy come through. As it was Dr. Gero, he gave himself quite a few upgrades. He was of the level of base Super Saiyan God, but nowhere near Blue, and Majin Buu was even stronger than Super Saiyan Blue. They were both pretty powerful. Dr. Gero was making sure to make himself more powerful. He was examining all of his opponent's powers so he could give himself some of their DNA. After all, Dr. Gero's been relying on other people for far too long. It's time he took actions into his own hands. As Dr. Gero and Buu came around, started to destroy things, Dr. Gero would try to destroy cities, destroy families, destroy whatever he can to lure out Goku and Vegeta. But he couldn't do it, because, well, they were off-world. Piccolo and Gohan would feel this energy, as Gohan would say, what do we do? There's no way we can contact them. Piccolo would look at Gohan and say, I have an idea. We can use the Dragon Balls to unlock my potential, and yours, just like the Grand Elder did. Gohan would nod, as they would get the Dragon Radar and begin to summon the Dragon Balls. Meanwhile, Dr. Gero and Majin Buu would set cities to ash, obliterating everything in their path. However, Dr. Gero made a mistake. He underestimated Piccolo and Gohan. Since he wasn't looking for him, he didn't really care. He was just focusing on causing as much havoc as possible to try to lead Goku and Vegeta out for his revenge. And Trunks, of course, that meddling punk that brought across all of this. At first, he was grateful Trunks showed up. After all, that's the only reason he's alive. But living his life as a head for so long, honestly, it might have been better off to just have perished the way he did in his timeline. As they caused havoc, Eventually, Gohan and Piccolo would get all the Dragon Balls and summon the mighty Shenron, as they would wish for their potentials to be unlocked. As suddenly Piccolo felt his power surge through him, so did Gohan. However, this massive power surge made sure Dr. Gero knew where they were. Dr. Gero couldn't believe it. Gohan, Piccolo, this strong? Well, they were still no match for him. Surely, he was the great Dr. Gero, and even though he lost time and time again, this was finally time for his revenge. And even if he started to lose, he had a backup plan. As Dr. Gero and Majin Buu both flew down, Piccolo and Gohan both got ready to fight. Piccolo was yellow, and Gohan had red eyes. His eyes weren't purely white yet. They were both trying to get to that new next form, Beast and Orange. However, they're a little while away. So, Dr. Gero would fight Piccolo, and Gohan would fight Majin Buu. As Gohan fought Buu, he would start to enjoy himself a bit. For a second, because he saw something in Buu. He saw childlike innocence. Buu didn't want to do this. He was just playing like it was a game. Gohan would try to talk Buu out of it, but Dr. Gero would say, "If you don't do as I say, I won't give you that special candy, the kind that tastes better than the stuff you turn stuff into." Majin Buu said, "Candy's better than talk." As he kept on fighting Gohan, Gohan would get mad as Majin Buu started to get the upper hand. Meanwhile, Piccolo was actually beating Dr. Gero. Dr. Gero didn't like this. He was getting pushed further and further back. He looked up and said, "It's time I do my last trick." As the battle continued, Dr. Gero was furious. It seemed like nothing he did ever worked. He could have just wished to become strong with the Dragon Balls. He did all this stuff for nothing. No matter how hard he worked on his science, somehow Ki always destroyed it, even if he used Ki in it. Even his bio-android didn't work. He was off training with them. It seemed like Dr. Gero had to get rid of them once and for all. Dr. Gero had a plan. You see, he managed to have his testosterone level rise, making his Ki rise. He can put this into overdrive, turning him into a beast of a man, rising his power not by double, not by triple, not by quadruple, but hundreds of times. However, this has a downside. He'll only live for 5 days. This will use up all of his body's energy in that amount of time. As suddenly Dr. Gero began to yell, his arms began to get buff, as all of his muscles began to grow, as he used all of his new power to hit Piccolo, sending him flying against the ground. As he flew against the ground, his arm came clean off. He got up and regrew it. As he began to scream, he felt himself tapping into his new power, as suddenly Piccolo would turn orange. This would definitely make things more even, but even with it, Dr. Gero had a slight power edge. It wasn't much, but slight. Dr. Gero couldn't believe this. Every single time he tried something, it always failed. However, this time, Dr. Gero had to succeed. Even with this orange power-up, even with these weird abilities, Dr. Gero will wipe them out. He will destroy everything that stood in his way, and everything who ever wronged him. He will get rid of all of it, because he only has 5 days to do so. As Majin Buu was about to kill Gohan, suddenly he would get up and begin to scream, as he felt so powerless, as he felt so weak. Suddenly his hair would turn white as he went beast. And then he hit Majin Buu with a Kamehameha, destroying him. As Beast Gohan and Orange Piccolo walked up on Dr. Gero, he walked away scared. But then he began to yell, "Screw you all! I will destroy it! I will destroy everything!" As Dr. Gero started to charge a Ki blast, he was going to push it straight into the planet, destroying it, wiping everything off the face of the earth. Goku, Vegeta, Trunks, they'll lose everything they cared about. True, they won't be dead, but they might as well have died. And besides, he'll take them out with him. As he was about to hit the ground, suddenly Gohan would fly so fast he couldn't even see him. As then, he would rip off Dr. Gero's head. As Dr. Gero would scream words at the top of his lungs, or I should say, non-existent lungs, as suddenly Gohan would simply throw his head down to the ground and step on it, crushing it. Piccolo would say, "Do you see why you need to train now?" as he turned back to his base form. Gohan would also turn back to his base form and say, "Yeah, you're right," as if they would both lay down from exhaustion. They never felt like this before. They exerted so much energy, but they now knew they needed to train. They also knew that now they were the strongest. And that is where I'll leave things off. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video down in the comments below. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Peace out.